Welcome to part 3D of this Peatland ACTION mini-series on how to complete the spatial data template. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to add polygon features into the bare peat stabilisation layer. You'll see here that I've opened up a fresh template and added a feature into the site outline layer. As per the guidance in video 3A, the site outline must be populated first, as the site ID is then a mandatory field in all the remaining layers. It's also recommended that at least 2 sources of aerial imagery are used to help you with your mapping. This is because features may appear more prominent in some imagery than in others. Finally, as per the other layers, it's recommended that the Spatial Data Guidance PDF is opened alongside your GIS project. Here I've opened the guidance PDF to the left and I've scrolled down to the Bare Peat Stabilisation layer description table. The values within the attribute column will relate to the column names in the Bare Peat Stabilisation attribute table in the GIS project. The layer description table contains information about the data types, the descriptions, and whether or not fields are mandatory. Where a data type is text constrained, this means that the values will be limited to a restricted list which will be available in the lookup tables in the GIS project, and also the lookup tables beneath the layer description tables in the guidance PDF. To add an area to the Bare Peat Stabilisation layer, first select the layer in the Layers panel. Then toggle editing mode on. You can do this by either right-clicking and clicking on Toggle Editing, or you can click on the pencil icon in the toolbar above. You'll see another icon become active to the right of the pencil icon, and this is the Add a Feature icon. You'll note that the symbology here matches the geometry of the layer that's selected for editing. Before we select this icon, it might be useful to zoom in on an area which we want to add a feature to, and we can also see whether the other mapping might provide a clearer background. So back to the top toolbar and select the Add a Feature icon, and then you want to just draw in your feature to cover the bare peat area. As per the other layers, this layer needs to be digitized to the feature level, like so. Once you've finished the shape, just one right click will bring up your feature attribute pop-up box. And from the pop-up box, we can see that there are 2 mandatory fields yet to be completed. This is indicated by the red cross to the right of these fields. The site ID has not automatically populated for this table, so we'll need to use the drop-down to select the site outline ID, which is 1. The restoration technique, you can just select the drop-down menu here, and then you will have the restoration techniques that are available for this layer. If you can't find a technique that you are wanting to use here, then you can always use the other please specify in notes option. And it's worth noting that if you use mulch, so either mulch/brush or mulch and geotextile, then as per the PDF guidance to the left, the mulch depth would need to be completed. And if you apply either a transplanting or a turving technique, so that's turving, sphagnum transplant or propagule transplant, then the donor site ID is required. I'm going to apply a mulch/brush technique for this one, and I'll select 20. Completed the mandatory fields, you can press OK and your shape will appear onto the map. You can expand the small arrow to the left of the Bare Peat Stabilisation layer name in the Spatial Tables group, and this will show you the different restoration techniques and their associated symbology. This is an easy way to see what techniques have been applied across a site. We can see that the feature count has increased to 1 and that it is a mulch/brush technique being applied. To save this feature permanently to the layer, we need to press the floppy disk symbol in the top toolbar. So maybe I want to add another feature over here. I need to populate the site ID and the restoration technique. And I'm going to choose one of the restoration techniques that needs a donor site so that I can show you how to populate your donor site layer. I'm going to choose sphagnum transplant, and I'll leave the donor site blank for now, because if you try and populate it, you'll see that as I don't have any features in my donor site layer, I can't actually add anything into this donor site ID. So press OK to create your feature, and you can save the layer edits by pressing the floppy disk. Next, I want to go to my donor site. So this is a different layer, and it's also a polygon layer. You right click and toggle editing on, and then what I want to do is just have a little look for somewhere where I might be able to collect sphagnum from. So I'm going to zoom in on this pool, which is very close to the area that I've just digitized for sphagnum transplanting. I'll go across from the edit toggle editing button in the toolbar to the add a feature icon and draw over the pool to add a donor site. The site ID needs to be populated alongside a donor site ID, which we'll just keep as one. Press OK, and again you want to save the layer edits by pressing the floppy disk. Now if we go back, I've added a donor site, but I still don't have the donor site connected to this polygon that I've added in the bare peat stabilisation layer. So what I would need to do is I'd need to open up the attribute table for this layer, and you can do that by right clicking and going to open attribute table, and then it's the sphagnum transplant entry which I want to update with a donor site. So if I click on the donor site, you'll see that now where it was previously just null in the drop down menu, I can now select 1, and then I can save the layer edits, and that is all you need to do to connect your bare peat stabilisation with your donor site layer. Donor site locations are only mandatory at final report stage. However, if you have an idea of where they would be at application stage, then you are very welcome to submit that data as well. There'll be other training videos in this mini-series covering things such as generating a restoration footprint, how to undertake some self-QA, as well as how to open and set up a new template. These can all be found on the NatureScott Peatland ACTION webpage.